So this was the context why the hadith of Ghadir was said. And once the hadith of Ghadir was said, now again, my friends, all of my young students and my younger brothers and sisters that are listening to this lecture, what does Mawla means? Mawla is someone who has a higher authority over you than their own selves. Can we just, mute the mic and the camera, please? Everyone, please. Right? So, Man kuntu mawlahu fa'aliyyun mawla. So this means that Amir al-Mu'min alayhi salatu wasalam has higher authority over us than our own selves. Right? Let's suppose if I want to do this thing, if I want to pray right now, and Amir al-Mu'min alayhi salatu wasalam comes in, or the Imam of our time comes in, and they say that you cannot pray right now, then at that time I cannot even pray. I have to follow what they are saying. They have so much authority over me. If I want to marry someone, let's suppose I'm married right now, but let's suppose a person needs to marry someone, and if a prophet or imam says, don't marry right now, so it is shar'an haram for them to marry at that time. And you can apply this situation in so many other ways, that whatever the halal things I have been given by the Sharia, by Allah, if prophets or the imams, they say to me for the time being, don't do it, it is wajib upon me to act upon their rules, upon their orders, right? This is what do we mean by the authority. Some people say, why didn't Rasulullah says that whosoever I am his Nabi, then Ali is his Khalifa. Prophet could have used the word Khalifa. But our answer to that question is that Khalifa only means someone who has political leadership over the subordinates, over their people, right? So this Khalifa only has a specific meaning. But when we say Mawla, Mawla doesn't only mean someone who has the political leadership. It also means someone who has the religious leadership, someone who has the political leadership, someone who has all kinds of leadership on their subordinates, on their following, or on their people. That thing that combines all kinds of leadership, that things come under only one word, which is Mawla, right? So now we know the context of why the word Mawla was used, right? So this is why we see Man kuntu mawlahu fa'aliyyun mawla. Allahumma wali man walahu wa adi man adahu wansur man nasarahu waghdul man khadalahu. And after Prophet was done with this, so Prophet then asked all of the people that were sitting there to come, or were standing there, to come and give their pledge of allegiance and say and proclaim Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salatu wassalam as Amir al-Mu'minin. So the people would come and they will give their bay'ah, they will give their pledge of allegiance by claiming, by saying that Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salatu wassalam is the commander of all the faithful, of all the believers. You know, the first of the people that came in to congratulate Amir al-Mu'minin, it were the first caliph and second caliph. So Abu Bakr and Umar, they came in the first. And Umar said a line. He says, Bakhin, Bakhin, Yabna Abi Talib, Asbahta Mawlaya kulli mu'minin wa mu'minatin. That congratulations, O Ali ibn Abi Talib, you are the Mawla of every believer man and every believer woman. So you can clearly see that even Umar bin Khattab, he understood that Mawla here clearly means what? Someone who has higher authority over you than yourself. So that's why this is the biggest proof that we use when we are talking to someone who doesn't believe in the imamat of Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salatu wassalam. We say someone who was destined, who was proclaimed by a prophet as a successor, as someone who will take care of the affairs of the Muslims after him. How can you give khilafah to someone else who prophet didn't even said one single line praising him? How can you give the khilafah to that person and you don't give the khilafah to someone who was more worthy, which was Amir al-Mu'minin Ali bin Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam. So just keep, all my brothers and sisters, just remember this background of why are we talking about Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salatu wassalam and the wilayah here. And inshallah, if we have time, I'm going to just move on to the next part of the lecture, to the wiladat to the shahadat of Baqar alayhi salatu wassalam that just recently went. So I'm going to talk a little bit about it. And inshallah, if we have more time, we can discuss a little bit about the amals of the day of Badr too, inshallah. So coming to the grandson of Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salatu wasalam, who was Imam Muhammad al-Baqir alayhi salatu wasalam. Now, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, he was born on in the year 57th Hijrah. The date was 1st of Rajab, 57th Hijrah, or some reports say he was born in 56th Hijrah. So difference of opinion whether it was 56 or 57. So he was born in one of these 2 years. When he was born, obviously he was with Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salatu wasalam. He was with Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam in the plains of Karbala. And when he was in the plains of Karbala, he had to go through all the problems and all the torture and all the oppression that the other people of the family of Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam have to go through. At that moment, Imam Baqir was with Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salatu wasalam. So a time came in, he was actually going through the streets of the Medina, right? And one of the companion of Imam, of the Prophet, also the other Imams, his name is Jabir bin Abdullah al-Ansari. You know, just to give you a little bit context, Jabir is the same person who is the narrator, who is the one who narrated the hadith of Qissa 2, the famous hadith that we have. And the way we start, عن جابر عن فاطمة الزهراء عليها الصلاة والسلام قال, and then قالت, and then she starts. Okay, how does the hadith of Qissa starts? So hadith of Qissa is quoted by who? By Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra. And who is quoting from Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra sallallahu alayha? It is Jabir bin Abdullah al-Ansari. And this is the same Jabir who was the first Za'id, who was the first visitor in the plains of Karbala. So he went to the plains of the Karbala on the day of Arba'in, on the day of Jihnum, and he had one of his really famous subordinate. His name was Ati al-Awfi. So Ati al-Awfi was with him, and Jabir was there too. And then they obviously went to the grave of Sayyid al-Shuhada alayhi salatu wasalam and sent their blessing and sent their salutations when they went there. So Jabir bin Abdullah al-Ansari was someone who was really respected. So Jabir bin Abdullah al-Ansari, even the narration says in al-Kafi, the one that I'm quoting, that Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam says, Inna Jabir bin Abdullah kana rajulan munqati'an ilayna wa huwa akhira man baqiya fi ashabi Rasulillah. The Jabir bin Abdullah al-Ansari was one of the last companions of the Prophet that were living around that time. And he was someone who had immense love for the family of the Prophet. Someone who loved the family of the Prophet. You know, during that time, the majority of the people were against the family of the Prophet. That's why Karbala happened. That's why other things happened too. Why? Because they were against the family of the Prophet, alayhi salatu wassalam, right? Around that time, it was Jabir bin Abdullah al-Ansari who had immense love for the family of the Prophet. So he was moving through the streets of Medina. And before he would do so, he would sit in Masjid al-Nabawi, in the central mosque of the Medina, and he would keep saying, Ya Baqir al-Eid, Ya Baqir al-Eid. He would keep screaming that, where is Baqir al-Eid? Where is the person that is called Baqir? He would always say that in Masjid al-Nabawi. So the people of Medina started thinking that he was speaking nonsense. He was speaking gibberish. He was not in his senses while he's speaking. Then Jabir would reply them, see, I'm not doing this because I am, a nonsensical person. I have heard Prophet ﷺ said, "Satadruku rajulan minni," that you would come across one of the persons from my own being, from my own family. Ismuhu ismi, his name would be on my name. Wa shama'iluhu shama'ili, and his characteristics on his qualities would match the qualities of mine. Yabkirul ilmi Baqar, and he would make the knowledge apparent, and he would make the knowledge understandable for the people in the best possible means. So when Jabir was going one place, he saw a really young person moving into the streets of Medina. So he asked that person to move forward. The person moved forward. He asked the person to move back. The person moved back. And then Jabir bin Abdullah asked, "What is your name, my young friend? What is your name?" Then he said, "My name is Muhammad bin Ali. I am Muhammad, son of Ali Zainul Abidin alayhi salatu wassalam." As soon as Jabir bin Abdullah heard his name, he went on to the young person. He started kissing that young person, and he said that your father, your grandfather, Yaqra'uka salam, has sent salutations and salams to you, O Baqar. And then he was giving so much respect. And obviously, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, alayhi salatu wassalam, not in return, but because of the love of Jabir bin Abdullah al-Ansari, he started giving him the respect too. And obviously, the narration continues how Jabir would come and how Jabir would get the education from whom? From Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, alayhi salatu wassalam. So imagine someone who's so aged, but when it comes to seeking the knowledge, he's still going to seek